you trying to do for real? For real.
Cosmic, psychedelic funk is what I came to do. Yep. Hi. I'm soul by funky. Hey. Soul by funky. Hi. I'm soul by cosmic soul.
Hey there, everybody. What's going on? Yours truly, Takara Nicole, aka The Identity Architect, along with
Nicole Lewis.
And we're here for another episode of the Authors Authority Lounge, which is the official TV show for authors. And we're excited any opportunity that we have to interview authors on this show. And sometimes you won't catch an author on this show, but you'll catch somebody that is related to the authorship field in some shape or form. But today we have an amazing guest. Her name is, you know what? What's her name?
Alicia Caldwell.
Alicia Caldwell. I did that on purpose, y'all. So let her introduce who she is and everything that she does.
Yes, I'm Alicia Caldwell, and I am a wife. I'm a mother, and I'm a yaya to an amazing grandson.
I love that. A yaya.
I am a yaya.
Instead of grandma.
Instead of grandma, I'm too sassy.
You are, Alicia.
To be a grandma.
Talking about a yaya. That's cute.
But I also happen to be a licensed professional of 20 plus years in the mental health field. I'm a professional speaker and the author of The Journey Back to Self.
Yes.
A guide to unlock your peace, power, and prosperity.
Let's see this book.
Yes, which cam do I hold it up?
Yes, you are good. The Journey Back to Self, a guide to unlock prosperity, power, and peace. I rearranged those, but y'all get it. The 3 Ps, what led you to focus on those 3 Ps?
Well, just looking back over my own journey, as a professional speaker, I would be on stages and I would talk to people, and then after, people would want to know more about my story.
Yeah.
And I had never put it on paper outside of my journals.
Yeah.
I never put it on paper, and I realized that I'm on a stage for maybe 60 minutes, but if I were to write down the things that I have learned on my journey, then people could reference that material at all types of phases of their lives and their development. And as I started structuring like how I wanted to talk about my story, those were the reoccurring things.
Yeah.
How did I take the steps to really manifest the peace that I embody today? How did I take the steps to really internalize my own personal power? And how did I move away from checking off the boxes on what the world said I needed to do to be successful to a holistic version of prosperity? So, because I was playing around with it, I thought prosperity should maybe be purpose, but it all ties into that. So it was peace, power, and prosperity. And that's kind of how I came up with those 3 Ps as I was just looking back over my own life.
That is amazing. That's amazing. How did you start your writing journey?
So I've been, I like I said, journaling has been a thing for me for a while. As a licensed therapist, I recommend journaling, to my clients.
Yeah.
And like this narrating your thoughts, your feelings, those emotions, what you've been through, it's therapeutic.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, when I started writing my story in 2019, I wrote 2 chapters and I sent it to an editor, and the editor sent it back with all of these digital red lines and corrections that she's like, hey, you're an amazing writer, but here's some adjustments that would make it even better. And as I looked at the edits, there was this sense of fear that started coming over me, like, who am I to write a book?
And that's so normal.
Yes, I'm learning that it is. But at the time, it really halted the journey of writing my story. And not only that, there was also fear of what other people would think about me writing my truth.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, as you all might know as authors, not everyone's going to be happy about your truth.
That's
They have
it.
their own version of what they think the truth is based on your situation and circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of those things, like those edits, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not as good of a writer as I think I am.
We go through that. And I love that you're sharing all of that on the show, because there's people out there that are watching this show and either they've written the book and kind of tucked it away, or they're looking to get started, and you know, they know that they may start and stop just because it might just be normal patterns within their life to start and stop stuff. So you're saying all the things that people need to hear. And I appreciate that. And I'm sure that everyone appreciates that. So let's rewind for a second.
Okay.
So your professional world. So how long have you been a therapist?
21 years.
21 years. And so what led you in that direction?
So we have to go all the way back to my senior year in high school. I took a psychology class because I knew I wanted to go to college, but I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. So I took a psychology class. And in this class, I started recognizing things that I had been going through in my life being written out in this textbook. Like, you know, dysfunctional family dynamics, this abnormal psychology, and all of these different things. And no one, you know, back in the 90s, no one was really talking about going to therapy. No one was really talking about mental health. We're talking about it now, but it really wasn't a thing back then. So in that, I was always a good listener, mainly because I was very much an introvert, quiet. So people would talk and I would listen. And they liked that. But I realized that I didn't want to just do that in an unofficial capacity, that maybe I could do this and actually help people like myself who had been through childhood trauma, witnessing domestic violence as a young child, abandonment issues because my father wasn't in my life, and all of the different things that come along with you know, dysfunctional environmental factors. So I thought to myself, well, maybe I could be that person that I need for someone else. And that's kind of how my journey evolved into, you know, getting my bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Nebraska at Omaha, and my master's degree in counseling.
So marrying your passion number one, now that with your now passion number two, how has that worked for you?
It's worked very well. It's worked very well. Writing my book, I truly believe it's going to be a help to anyone who gets into these pages and realizes it's not a book that you just pick up and read and put down. It's very interactive. You know, there's prompts at the end of each chapter asking you to go deeper into the text, because even though this story is about me, it's not for me. It's for the reader. And my hope is that when someone reads the book, that they see themselves within the chapters, because although I'm talking about chapters of my life, I really want the reader to start thinking about chapters of their own life and how they can apply my challenges, my adversity, my lessons into their own journey.
I love that. I love that. So do you have a journal that coincides with your book?
So in a sense, the book is a journal.
Okay.
So I'll give you an example. All right, so this is a chapter on self-image, and at the end, there's a section for you to write.
Okay.
So I'm actually encouraging people as they're reading to apply, write in the book. This is your book. It's not a book that you're going to necessarily pass on to someone else, because this is your book. This is your journal. There's additional journal prompts. There's a section in my book called Beyond the Pages with journal prompts and resources. I don't want people to just stop with reading the book. I really want this to be a catalyst for their own journey to being more educated, equipped, and empowered to live their lives as the highest versions of themselves. And it may take a couple of read-throughs before they really like, okay, I'm ready to take this journey. And I've had people tell me like, okay, I've read a few chapters, but I'm not sure if I'm really ready to do the work. And I'm like, that's okay. That's why it's a roadmap. So when you are ready to take the next step, go back to that chapter.
That's
And
so
I
good.
tell people, you don't have to start at chapter 1. Chapter 1 is on self-love. You might be in a season of your life where you really need self-forgiveness. That's chapter 10. So you go wherever you need to go in this book, when you need to go there, and start there. And you may read that chapter several times before you move to the next. This is really your story.
That's so
and
good.
your journey.
That's so good.
That's amazing. I love the fact that it's interactive, and I love the fact that you are intentional about putting those prompts directly in there. Because what's happening is people will be reading, and they get into that mind state, and then having to go to a whole nother book. Sometimes is difficult because now that transition, when we're living in a day and age with a lot of people who have their attention span is very, very short. And they'll be like, what was I doing again? But keeping them in that mindset, I think is amazing that you're very intentional about that.
Thank you.
So from start to finish, how long would you say it took you to write the book?
So like I said, I guess I didn't finish this part. I started in 2019, and when that fear kind of halted the progression, I didn't pick it back up until 2023, probably the beginning of 2023. So it took me about a solid year to sit with it, to start, to pause. There were times where, and my husband can attest to this, where I would go into my office and I just had like kind of my power hour. Like I'm going in there for an hour, I might write a paragraph, or I might actually finish a chapter, I don't know. But there were times where I would come out and I'm like, I had nothing. And there were times that I would get into the story and my tears would just kind of derail the whole process because, and sometimes we might believe that we're really ready when the tears are no longer present. But the truth is there are times where we're crying and we're tearful because of what we've overcome, not because we are still wounded, open wounds. So there were times where I'm just like, okay, I'm not really ready to put this pain on paper yet. But then I would come back to it later and I would give myself just the grace to allow it to take however long it took for me to finish a chapter.
Yeah, that's so good.
Did you do anything that when you found yourself did you ever find yourself in that headspace where you're processing as you're writing, and then how did you come out of that back into the present moment?
Yeah, so thankfully, at the time that I was writing this book, I was already in therapy for another traumatic experience that I write about in the book in chapter 9 on self-preservation related to my daughter having a very traumatic birthing experience. So I was already in therapy for that. And so my therapist was helping me to guide myself get back to my safe place. If there was something that I was writing about that was emotionally activating, because this is my story. And there were things, to be honest with you, that I hadn't thought about in like decades. Like memories that were coming back up. And there were a few things that I went back and I fact checked it with, because I have an older brother. And I wanted to be authentic. I also wanted to be truthful. So I was young during certain aspects of the stories that I tell. So my older brother, he's 3 years older than I am. So I called him and I was like, did this happen? Do you remember this the way that I think I'm remembering this? And he's like, yeah, that happened. And he was able to share from his older perspective some of the things that just blew my mind, because I'm like, how did I remember that from I probably was about 3 or 4 years old when some of the things were happening as far as like domestic violence. And I was like, how did as like a 3-year-old, like I didn't remember the details that he had, but I do remember the fear. I do remember some of the imagery and just being afraid of these different things, but he had even more insight to share. And I was grateful for that, because sometimes we can question our own truth. And we may not share it because it's like, okay, did I just make this up or did this really happen?
I don't even know where I want to go with that, because as we're writing, so much comes out. And there's a lot of times when we're telling our stories where you're right. We're like, did this really happen? or you're writing your story and it could have happened 26 years ago, and as you're writing it, there's some feelings and emotions that are coming up, and you're like, hold on, I thought I dealt with this. And it may not be as the fact that we didn't deal with it. It may be the fact that, let me show you a different perspective on what I'm showing you. And if you're feeling these emotions, then imagine how the reader's gonna feel these emotions. And so, you know, I love when we can be transparent about our own fears and things that we go through. And we have people out here that are looking for solutions. And you're right. You know, when you're an author, you are a brand. And, you know, some people don't want to hear that. Sorry, not sorry. But we are. And so, you know, we might not be able to attend one of your speaking events, but we can pick up a book and read chapter 9 and feel all those emotions and thoughts and all the things that we need to feel to help us. So I'm going to tap into something, and then I'm going to give this to you. I don't know if y'all can see her blazer, but it has a bunch of different faces on it. And I know that this is not by chance. How does that symbolize who you call yourself, and then just all the things that you do in your roles?
Yeah. There's something that I speak about often, and it's the unmasking.
See, I knew it. I knew it was something. I was like, there's a reason.
And you too can maybe relate that there are times when we are seen as like the strong friend, the strong person, the person that has it all together because we have achieved whatever level of success people think is like a wow factor.
Yeah.
So we wear a mask of invincibility because we don't want people to know that we are struggling, because we feel like it means that we are less than, or we're not as successful as they think that we are.
Exactly.
So I can see that this image is just like, you know, the mask that we wear and the confusion behind the mask because we're hurting. We need help. That may be a book.
That would be so powerful because in your role, you see a lot. And you're walking with people to help them take off that mask.
And it's not an easy process. It wasn't an easy process for me. And, you know, at the time that I really went deep into my healing journey, I was already a therapist. I was already a therapist going into my office and helping my clients to identify their pain and orchestrate their change. But I was hiding behind a mask and needing my own help, my own health, and my own healing. And I, like, what therapist, like at that time for sure, wants to say, like, I'm struggling with my own mental and emotional challenges. I'm struggling with my own childhood trauma. I'm struggling to show up as the best version of myself when, you know, you have this title. And titles can sometimes be our biggest downfall because it will keep us from embarking on the healing journey, which I'm grateful that I got over myself. And I do believe that I am a better therapist, I'm a better speaker, but even beyond that, I'm a better wife, I'm a better mother, I'm a better yaya to my grandson.
I love that
and
so
I'm
much.
a better friend, I'm a better person all the way around because I stepped back and I took a pause to address my own mental and emotional wounds and relational wounds. I write about, you know, my relationship with my father, who wasn't a part of my life in chapter 10. It's a chapter on self-forgiveness, because for so many years I held on to this bitterness toward him for not being in my life, for having a whole nother family and wondering, like, why wasn't I good enough? Why wasn't I worth fighting for? And, you know, I don't want to give anything away, but he and we weren't able to reconcile. So I had to find another way to release the bitterness, the anger, and all the things that I had held on to into my adulthood. And recognize how it was having an impact on my own relationship. How is it affecting me and my control issues, my trust issues, and my insecurities? Because the truth was, I had this little girl on the inside always looking for validation. Just looking for validation, external validation from other people to say that I was good enough, that I was worthy. And I didn't connect it to my daddy issues until I went to therapy and started getting real about what was really going on the inside, because I didn't want to admit that I needed him in the way that I needed him. I really needed that father figure, and I didn't have it. So what do I do now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. And it makes me think about so many therapists go into practice unhealed themselves, thinking that they can heal somebody else.
That's so good.
Without doing the work for themselves.
Yeah.
And then the burnout happens. So I know for me personally, as I was looking at going into that field, that's what I kept hearing: burnout, 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 burnout. And I'm like, well, if you're doing the work, like you said, if you do the work for yourself, it gives you a whole different level. It gives you a whole different space. And it's not saying that you won't have a burnout, because that's still possible. Yeah. But I feel like doing that work is amazing, because it just now gives you that much more time to be in the work and be healed in that work. So
Absolutely.
What would you say to someone that is out here and they're watching this show and they want to write a book to share their story? Their story may have some pain, some heartache. What would you tell them?
The main thing I would say is to start wherever you are. And that may mean a notebook. Just start writing down whatever without worrying about the edits.
Yes.
Without worrying about, like, is the grammar correct? You know, is this going to be considered ebonics as I'm writing it? Don't even worry about any of that. Speak in your authentic voice. There's editors to help you figure it out. But start writing that stuff down. And I would encourage, and this is just from a therapeutic and clinical perspective, have support if needed. And I believe it's needed, especially if you are writing about traumatic experiences. Have support on that journey.
For sure.
It may be a therapist. It could be, you know, a coach, you know, pastoral counseling, whatever it may be. But have support, because there are times where, as I was writing, like I said, the emotional activation was happening, and I didn't expect it. Where I just started keeping tissues at the desk, because I never knew when writing this memory was going to get to me.
Yes.
It doesn't have to stop you, though.
Right.
But go at your own pace.
Yes.
It may take you a year. I know people are getting the books out within 6 months, or you may be like me, and it could take you 5 years. I know I've heard people say it took them 10 years.
Yeah.
However long it takes, let it take that amount of time. And sometimes we write for us. It doesn't have to be because you're going to be a New York Times bestseller. Now that's a blessing for all the people who reach that status. But I wrote this book because I needed to write this book. And there are things about it that I was thinking, like, oh, I would change this, or don't let me read through it and see a grammatical error. I'm like, oh Lord, should I pull it off and wait and get a new editor? It was so many things, and I had to say, just leave it. Okay, if there's some typos, okay, there's some typos. The people who need this book don't care about that. They care about the lessons that you're going to teach them within the pages.
Yes.
So just be authentic to who you are and start where you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
how do you tie your book into your speaking and your practice?
So the book really helps in my speaking. For one, after I speak and people are wondering, like, what else can I get? How can I work with you? It's really an easy way for me to say, I just happen to have a book.
Whoa! I have a book.
I just happen to have a book. And there
I
are
will start
times
using that.
when it
I just
happens.
happen to have a book.
I just happen to have a book. And this is something that they can use, and they can take and go home with it.
Yes.
And they can start their own journey based on whatever they've heard me speak about. Because most of what I speak about is tied to the themes, the principles, and the pillars of this book.
Yeah.
And it's really as getting back to the core of who you are.
Yeah.
Getting reconnected to you.
Yes.
Like, who were you before other people tried to put the labels on you? Who were you before the titles became more important than the woman behind that mask? So that's why this has been important, because I was speaking and then people would say, what else? And I didn't necessarily have anything else except, well, you could book me to speak again. And not everyone can do that. And it's twofold, because there are times where people reach out to me to speak and they can't necessarily invest in it right now, but they can invest in getting a bulk order of my books for their staff members. So it's just another way for me to impact by having a book.
Y'all, listen, she said so many amazing things. This has been a great interview, Alicia. Thank you so much. If people want to grab a copy of your book, where would you send them?
They can go on Amazon. They can, put in my name, Alicia Caldwell, or The Journey Back to Self, and they will find it there. Or they can go to my website, thealiciacaldwell.com. I have it there as well with the link to purchase, and then they can find out more about me there as well.
Yeah. Any other carding questions?
Yes, definitely. If somebody wanted to book you as a therapist, how would they get in contact?
I'm not currently accepting clients as a therapist, so it's primarily my speaking right now, and joining my email list, because every week I send out inspirational content to anyone who's on my email list as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to hop on your email list after hearing you today, what do they need to do?
Yeah, so go to my website, thealiciacaldwell.com, and you can scroll to the bottom of my homepage, and there is a subscriber box. So just put your email address and your name, and you'll start getting inspirational content right in your inbox.
Amazing. Well, this has been another episode of the Authors Authority Lounge. Real quick before we leave, though, what's one tip that you would share how authorship has changed your life? One tip on if someone's struggling, like, I don't know if I should get the book, out of me, why should they? What's one thing you would tell them?
This isn't something that I came up with on my own, but one of my coaches said to me, the most selfish thing that you can do is keeping your story to yourself. And the longer that you keep your story to yourself, the longer someone is out there struggling because they don't hear you speak about it or write about it. So writing your book is really going to be you stepping out of your own way, writing your story so others can be helped and impacted by what you've overcome.
Well, she officially stepped on someone's toes today, but that's a good thing. Hopefully it jumpstarts you into your authorship challenge. This has been another episode of the Your Authors Authority Lounge, the official TV show for authors, and see you guys later.
What you trying to do for real? For real.
Cosmic psychedelic funk is what I came to do. Yep.